We have Aaron Levie and Christina Cacioppo, founders of Box and Vanta, talking about how enterprise platforms are seemingly shifting from not just selling software as a service, but potentially selling workers or work as a service via agents. And welcome to the stage, Aaron and Christina.
Cool, thanks.
So maybe we can start out by just talking about the agents you've both recently launched this year in your platforms. What are they capable of today?
Okay, we've launched, right now we're calling it the Vanta AI agent, and it's sort of one agent on top of a bunch of other task-specific agents. So really high level, Vanta helps teams build out security and compliance programs, and then earn trust with them with their customers, like through a security audit, like a SOC 2 or a questionnaire. Anyway, that's how you should think about Vanta. And so we primarily sell to GRC teams, like governance, risk, and compliance teams. And in those teams, there's lots of jobs. They keep track of internal compliance. They manage internal risk. They evaluate all the software vendors or vendors a company might be using. And we've just kind of gone through those different jobs in the team and then gone through and built agents for different parts of each of those folks' day-to-day work, so that then they're not doing that piece, but what the compliance team is now doing is like managing the work of the agents and reviewing and approving it. So that's what we've been working on.
Yeah, so for us, we're building kind of what you'd imagine. So agents that can read documents, watch videos, listen to audio, process that information, and then respond to whatever the user wants to do with that data. So you could bring sort of domain expertise to that data in the form of building a custom agent that has some targeted task that it needs to be able to do, or things like data extraction, document processing, turn that unstructured data into structured data. And I think the super cool thing that probably we're both seeing, but I really like the domain focus that Vanta has is just this whole idea of all the use cases that your customers never had enough labor to go and kind of execute before. The software now brings that labor with it, and so that's what we're seeing is all of these use cases where customers have sort of always had these things of like, I mean, I wish I could find out what was inside of all my contracts or all my invoices or this set of research data inside the organization, but you never would have thrown, kind of humans at that task. It would have just been completely, way too expensive. But now agents obviously drops that cost by 1,000x, and so we start to see all these new use cases open up. But yeah, that's what we've launched so far.
So in both cases, how do customers kind of adopt the agent? What is the actual interface? Christina, you sort of hinted at this. Yeah, I'm just curious, like, what is the actual experience of using agents?
Yeah, I'll tell you what it is today. To be candid, I don't know if we've totally nailed it. I don't know if anyone's totally nailed it, although if you think you have, please send your thing to me because I'd love to learn. But most of the experience today is like a chat bar along the right rail of the Vanta app, and you can talk to that agent and it will like farm out tasks to sub-agents, but that's sort of like go to one place, and whether you're talking to the policy drafting agent or the risk evaluation agent, like doesn't matter. You can just talk to that chatbot basically. That's most of the experience. We also have different kind of AI powered but not agentic parts of the product. So there's parts of the product that where information is generated or drafted with AI. That's kind of divorced from that right rail, which is kind of why I say like, I don't know if we totally have the experience nailed yet. You guys probably are further along on that.
No, we've already thrown away most stuff and redone it. Mostly because we always struggle with how often should the user be interacting with something that feels like another maybe person in the system, but obviously in an agent form, versus what things are just software that you would have built previously as just, you click a button, you get a result, but it's an agent running behind the scenes executing that. Yeah. And we struggle because a lot of the things inside of when you interact with unstructured data and documents are you want to see the document, you want to press a couple things and something happens. You don't want to necessarily have to chat with another system. So I go back and forth because every day somebody is building some new novel breakthrough that kind of causes us to think, oh, maybe that's actually the better direction. So we're in this constant loop. But in general, it's sort of chat plus in-product experiences where an agent is running behind the scenes and you don't really have to worry that it's an agent. But that's what's kind of doing the labor on behalf of the user.
Are you starting to see any glimpses of kind of co-working with agents in a way that does feel more like co-working with a human in many ways, or is that sort of not ready for prime time?
Yeah, we have one. I think of the somewhat understandable example is security questionnaires. So right, like one part of enterprise software is trying to sell to a big company, and the big company like sends you this long spreadsheet of 77 million questionnaires being like, do you encrypt this? Do you encrypt that? Do you stand on your head on Tuesdays? Whatever. And you have to like go through and answer them. And so we have an experience where you can give us that spreadsheet or document or web portal or whatever it is, and the agent will go through based on all the Vanta information and draft answers, right? And we'll not go send them to them, but like all the answers are sitting there. You can tune how verbose you want it to be, how much detail, that sort of thing, and then review and approve. And so the person can go through and like truly review and approve. And I think that workflow makes a lot of sense for security questionnaires.
Do you do that via chat?
No, we don't. So this is like a tabular table UI.
But it is almost like someone's delivered a completed work project.
Yeah. And then you can kind of thumbs up, thumbs down. And then on our side, we look at answer acceptance and we look at edit distance, like how many characters basically have changed when someone edits. And then those are our AI quality metrics where we go through and tune what we're doing. And that model has worked really well for questionnaire automation, both for users and honestly for us, and making a system that improves itself. And so we're kind of trying to take some of that model elsewhere too.
Aaron, are you seeing that at all yet? Like, it seems like you're building maybe toward a future where these agents start acting more as human coworkers, or?
Yeah, I mean, we already effectively have that, but I think the more interesting axis is just what is the depth of tasks that those agents can go and execute. So when we started, 2 years ago with this whole effort, 2.5 years ago, it could do a very, very small task. It could read 10,000 words of a document and summarize it. Now you can give it, we can give it a couple 100,000 tokens if we want. It could be much more complex information. Multi-documents could be responding, in our version would be responding to, let's say, an RFP from a customer and filling out a whole spreadsheet in that form. And so that's starting to kind of work better and better. And so I think it's some version of longer running tasks where it has to process more data, probably use more tools within our environment. And then the question is sort of, how do you make the agent effectively bring the human back in? I think we've sort of designed a lot of our software kind of imagining that the human knows when they should review things and when the human should kind of interact with the AI or the technology. Now the question is, does the agent know when to bubble things up to the person and say, hey, I actually need this I need this other information. I didn't get this detail. And so we're always kind of trying to think about what would that look like in the product. And so if the agent kind of stumbles, and how does it come back and check in with the user? How do you supply it more information in a task? How do you show the work steps that the agent is doing in a way that is sort of helpful, so you can audit the work that's happening in a way that kind of creates and expands the trust that you have with the agent as it's doing its work. So kind of a lot of really cool. I think it's probably the most fun time I've seen in design probably in the past kind of 10, 15 years. So I think like early SaaS days were super fun because we were trying to all figure out, what does multi-user software look like in the cloud, and how do we make these tools more collaborative? I think we're now in a new era of design, which is super fun, which is how do you design the human agent interaction, and what does that look like? Just like showing like how much of the planning steps do you show? Do you let the user intervene and change those planning steps? How much do you show the thinking tokens that are actually going on during the workflow? Like that's sort of the new set of problems I think we're probably working on.
So I can tell you're excited. Are the teams that you guys run big companies? There's a bit of a change management to get anyone behind AI inside of an enterprise. Is everyone excited, or did you have to do top-down sort of motivation to launch these products?
I think the initial launches are you kind of try to do the hopefully obvious thing is like grab the people who kind of AI pilled themselves and support them and let them run. I think, so anyway, there's been a good amount of that. I think we've done the things that sound very silly but do seem to matter. We just started the AI coding wins Slack channel, right? But that's like I tried to do a thing and it didn't work, and then I prompted, and then like here's how I knocked out 5 support tickets in an afternoon, right? Like here's what I did, and then we all kind of rush in and celebrate those. So that was helpful. I think we have 2 frames at Vanta. One is like, look, guys, sometime in the last 3 years, someone invented the Star Trek computer, And whether or not the Star Trek computer is perfect, it has been invented, and so you probably want to try it out. So like, just do that. And is it perfect? No, but it's something. And then the second is the kind of Jensen trope, but true, of like, AI is not going to take your job, but someone using AI will. So you also probably want to get good at this, and then it's just a skill like anything else. And again, it's not like a magic skill, it's just like a thing you can sit down and practice. And so we'll try to create opportunities for you to do that, but also you should be doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's, I would say, I don't know if you felt this way, but it's probably the most like kind of back to kind of ground zero startup mode that we've had since founding the company. Kind of like every rule is being rewritten right now. So and you can kind of see the blast radius starting from the people most directly working on the AI teams, and then the dependent services on those teams, and then kind of the adjacent functions. But it is, very much, there's sort of a core team that is kind of grinding, vastly more than I think at any other point, again, other than maybe the founding days, just given the sheer pace of change in the space. And that's, I think, a necessary requirement. So it's a bit Darwinistic. The people that end up working on the projects are those that can handle that type of approach.
And sort of what are the current challenges to actually shipping a useful agent? What would you like to see in the next year, whether it's, better long-running task context management, something around better foundation model reasoning, or like what is limiting right now that you expect to change?
I don't know, kind of a great or like generalized solution for this, but one thing we spend a lot of time on and increasingly time on is the evals. And just like, are the results that came back good for whatever whatever was supposed to come back? And in our case, there's a subject matter expertise part. There's like, oh, was this risk score reasonable given the inputs? That a software engineer, like a smart person or a software engineer, a designer, kind of look at and like squint and do. But we really have found a need to like hire and bring in lots of actually GRC folks who had kind of normal GRC jobs at other companies, and now we're like, hey, come put on a Superman cape and like teach these models and these products everything you know, so that everyone can have your expertise. Because again, there's just nuances to compliance, to risk, to security. I mean, to really any domain. And so that piece we just spend a lot of time on. And I mean, so it's finding
is that system prompt work? What are they doing?
Some of it's system prompt work. Yeah, some of it is. It just, yeah. But then we end up building these kind of like harnessy systems, right? And I think we like go out and try all the startups that do these, and nothing like quite fits enough. And so you like end up building a little bit of internal tooling on that. I would love to like not build that internal tooling.
We're looking for a startup to kind of actually provide the solution here potentially.
Yeah.
Or the models.
And I think somebody could come in and like build something for Vanta kind of quite easily, as easy it is to build anything great. But like trying to build it for 100 SaaS companies, like I do think that is harder.
And is the proliferation of agents like interesting from your perspective, from a compliance and risk perspective? Like are agents just a nightmare for a compliance officer?
So I don't think any more so than already. Like I think it's the same kind of principles, right? You're like, what data does this have access to? What permissions does it have? It's like all the same core. How does that data move? It's all the core principles. There's not really something new. I think the domain it's closest to is actually data privacy, versus like AI security being this, or like AI agent security being this like totally new domain that necessitates 17 new companies in a new Gartner quadrant. Like I just don't think it.
Gartner will find a way.
Yeah. I shouldn't bet against them.
Don't worry about that. I think on that, the only counter that we see from our particular lens is you go to a large enterprise and you sort of say, hey, where is the latest contract or the latest invoice on X topic or customer, and they might have one of 20 different systems where that could come from. And so by definition, the challenge with that is each of those 20 systems likely has different permissions that were created over time. Likely there's a lot of drift on those permissions. There's different, people have different levels of access. And so in the kind of human-based world, you had a lot of security through obscurity. And so so you basically couldn't find the thing even if you wanted to. And so you didn't need to, it's just obfuscated from you. So you don't really have to, kind of worry about how hardened are your systems. the agent will find it, and it will kind of deliver that information to the user one way or the other. And so I do think there's going to be that's the only reason why I think that there could be a role for a new class of technology. Now, often I think the incumbents will be delivering those, like we're going to do it in Box, and I think various vendors will. But there are some new interesting dynamics when you imagine a world of like 1,000 times more agents. They will find everything in the enterprise, and they will give it to everybody. Because people will just ask, and they didn't even intend to get the wrong information, but it will be delivered to them. So I think that will be a new type of problem that emerges.
So I guess following on that, like 1,000 agents in the enterprise, running for longer periods of time, days, weeks, like I guess how AGI pilled are you in terms of is this a massive disruption for the SaaS category broadly? Will agents be using your platform more than humans? Not just the agents you produce, but other agents from other companies.
I think you probably couldn't find two more biased panelists on that topic. We're not I just don't like most of the people arguing that agents get rid of SaaS have just never sold into an enterprise. And the reality is the reality is when you go to most organizations and you say like what are your mission critical workflows? ERP, CRM, ITSM, compliance, all of these workflows. They want hardened systems that just deliver that workflow every single time. What agents do is it provides effectively the labor to go interact with those workflows. And so it's a highly complementary technology, and I would usually flip it, which is agents are probably the greatest boon to SaaS that we've ever had as a tailwind, because most of our customers don't often have the labor to do all of the things that our software can do. So we've all been going to enterprises over the past couple of decades, and we go and sell to an enterprise, and we have we've got 93 features that you can implement. And they're like, that's cool, like I have one person that could learn your technology. And they only have 8 or 10 hours in a day to use it all. So most of our tools that we've ever created have been underutilized probably by about 100x. Agents are now the things that can go use those tools. So I think what you're going to see is now, there'll be a lot of companies that don't make it and they don't pivot properly and they don't implement it, or they got too greedy on the business model. Like there'll be so many failures of the existing kind of SaaS ecosystem. But if you play it right, you're actually bringing the user of your software now to the customer, which is this incredible gift, because now the customer isn't capped on how much they can use your technology. And so they can just use your technology like 24/7 times 100, of the people that they would have normally been able to do. And so like in our world, you go to a company who say, hey, we could, if you have a bunch of people that could read contracts, you can add that data into our system and we can help you automate your contract workflow. Well, guess what? They don't have those people. So then they don't actually do the real automation and power the business process in a way that will give them, the real advantage. Now they can do that. I'd assume the same in the compliance world. Like we only have 10 people in compliance from the manual work. If we could have agents that go and do all that for us, we would use way more of the software that's out there.
Yeah, to sound like pretentiously academic about it, Clayton Christensen and the whole disruption theory, right, like talks about sustaining innovations and disruptive ones are the incumbent. It's kind of probably what most folks think about when they think about Christensen. And sustaining ones are the ones that the incumbents can take and make themselves stronger. And very biased, talking my own book. There's a Buffett quote here. But I think agents and AI just help the incumbents that have the data and the customer relationships and the systems of record do more for those customers, provided the incumbents aren't asleep.
Yeah. And then just shout out to the pure insurgent startup side. I think what's going to be super exciting is there'll be still room for 2 times more software in the world that will come also then from startups, because there are so many markets where we didn't have an incumbent in a category because again, before you could go and automate what the labor was doing, there was nothing to sell from a software standpoint. So you're just going to have so much new software from startups as well. And so it's going to, I think everybody will kind of run into each other at the edges, but there's going to be opportunity for both the existing SaaS players and new players.
So I guess with a closing question here, will it always feel like AI is this kind of tool, agents are useful, used by humans? Christina, you said, a smart person who knows how to use AI might replace someone who doesn't know how to use AI, or will we reach a point where these agents are really approximating full workers in the enterprise?
Oh, I think there's definitely some full workers, but people will just do other things. like a Vanta context example, and we were talking about it earlier, is one thing a GRC team does, again, is like evaluates new vendors, new software vendors that are coming in. And today, often, it is someone's job to evaluate the high-risk vendors. Like, they can't even do all of them, but they are just like vendor evaluator. And I think that is a great thing to give to an agent. And then that agent can go, to Aaron's point, go and do all of the vendors, not just a subset of them, because the agent doesn't take PTO and doesn't get tired and, works more than 997. And then the person becomes like a vendor risk portfolio manager and thinks, okay, given all these, inputs and given what I know about business context, how do I like make better decisions? But the person still has a role. It's just not as kind of, in some ways, manual and tedious as what the agent is now doing.
Yeah, I've seen no signs of the humans not adding value in the equation. I'll give you one small anecdote that is the exact opposite of everybody's kind of tendency on this. We had a sales engineer a couple weeks ago build a custom piece of software to demo to a customer we were trying to sell to. So he's using Cursor to build out a full demo environment for this customer of their entire product with Box embedded into it. That took the demo engineer, I don't know, maybe let's say a day or half a day to get all kind of cleaned up. That was work that he would not have done before. Yeah. So AI actually increased the work that we were now doing. But guess what? The hit rate when you go in and do that demo will actually go up. And so you're going to see, you just can't predict any of these things until the technology is actually rolled out, because work is just going to change as a result of this. And so you'll have some areas where you had under capacity before, and AI just basically ends up being the way that you fill that gap. And then you'll have some parts where the entire workflow changes, and you'll actually have more jobs get created in ways that you wouldn't have anticipated. So I think it's just very early to call this stuff.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Aaron.
Thank you.
Christina, yeah, appreciate it.
See you.